Okay, so in this video we're going to do a couple of little exercises just to prepare ourselves for sort of progressing towards some of the Olympic weightlifting techniques. And for this session we're just going to use a wooden pole or a dowel, and we want to work with our feet in a slightly sort of hip width position, slightly turned out. So what you want to think of is where you would be best placed for if you were going to jump, so where you can just jump off the ground. If your feet are too close, you're perhaps not going to jump too high. If your feet are a little bit wider, again, you're not going to jump too far. So just find a nice optimal position, slightly turned out. We're going to have the hands quite wide on the pole, so we want to find a place where the pole is just going to sit into the hip crease. So if we're looking side on, just like I say, at the front of the hips, and in that position we just want to soften the knees a little bit and just move the pelvis just a little way back from the pole, just so you can kind of feel, and then just maybe move a little bit forward and back with the pelvis, just so you find that place where you're not in contact with the pole, and then we come back in contact with the pole, but just keeping that softness through the knees. So we're going to do 5 repetitions of each exercise, and to start with we're just going to keep the legs long, soft with the knees like I say, and think of hinging through the front of the hips, or at the front of the hips, to bring the pole down towards the knees, and then you come back up. So it's a long back, we fold at the front of the hips, and then we return back to our upright, and again we fold and we come up. So keeping that sense of length through the spine. The eye gaze can drop a little bit, or you can bring the eye gaze just slightly forward. On that last one we're going to finish with the pole by the knees, and then we're going to pull the pole up towards the belly button and then lower. So thinking of the elbows coming a little bit up and back, and we're keeping the pole quite close to the thighs there as we come up, and again coming up. About 5 repetitions. Lovely. And then come back to that upright position, and now we're going to lift the elbows up and wide, so just going to where you can there. Lovely, good. So high pulls, again keeping the pole quite close to the body. Lovely. And then we're just going to bring the pole up, and if it's comfortable we're going to rest the pole onto the shoulders. So if you can, we want to make sure that we're not kind of shifting the head forward. If that feels a little bit too tight through the shoulders, you could maybe work with the pole just above the crown of the head instead. But if it is comfortable for you, just resting the pole, like I say, across the back of the shoulders, and we're just going to take it into a little squat position there. Think of the knees going slightly out, but keeping the big toes nice and heavy, folding at the hips, knees and the ankles, but again keeping the trunk of the body nice and long. And then reaching the arms up and the pole up above the head, and then taking it into an overhead squat. And just seeing where that feels right for you. You might be a little bit longer in one side or the other, so just trying to maintain that length through the body. Last one there, and coming back up, and obviously you can go as deep into that squat as is comfortable for you. Bringing the pole back towards the hip crease, we're just going to then soften the hips back, let the pole lower down towards the knees, and then as you lengthen you're going to lift your heels. So it's a triple extension of the ankle, the knee and the hips. So the pelvis or the hips come just away from the bar as we start to go down, the pole towards the thighs, and then we bring the pelvis and the hips back in towards the bar as we lift the heels up there. So just finding that little bit of balance point with our movement there. And you could add to that the elbows pulling up, but again keep the pole or the bar quite close to the body as you work, because obviously when we transfer to working with a training or weightlifting bar, we want the bar path to be close to the body once we're working. Last one there, and then just resting and that's you all done.